Hello, welcome back to another episode of Jen Murphy. Uh, every time I say that at the beginning, I feel extremely self conscious because I'm like, why am I doing a show called The Jen Murphy Show? Just feels weird to be like, people want to know about Jen Murphy. But I appreciate you people that do. So thanks for tuning in. I feel like last week the episode I did was just really scattered, and I hope it wasn't too boring. I'll try and be a little bit higher energy on this one, maybe. I don't I write down the topics that I'm going to talk about, but I don't write out everything I'm going to say. I tend to just improvise it based on whatever topics I have, and so sometimes it's my brain is slow to get to the point. I think. So yeah, I was talking a lot about obsession last week. I hope it came across okay. Um, I just want to say first of all, stand up is coming back, and the last 2 weeks I've gone to the Hollywood Improv and performed outside, and just the feeling is just so amazing. Just to walk in and see comics that I know and like give people hugs, and it's just overwhelming. It's I'm so grateful. So yeah, hopefully there's going to be a lot more performances, and I hope that soon uh, all of you will be able to come to a show, and I hope I will be there for you. I had an experience this week that I'm going to talk about. Um, I have my new apartment. Christina and I, we made a joke about starting a challenge of 50 before 50 men before I turn 50 in some years. And I don't really think I'm going to sleep with 50 men. It started as a joke, but I did get some motivation to go out and, you know, make some shit happen. I've been too alone for a year. And I also feel like as I'm getting older, like might as well do this before, I don't know, before it falls apart. I already feel like maybe I'm a little too old to do, but I want to stop worrying about age. I had a thought this morning when I was walking that maybe I think I can just stick to 44 for the rest of my life, because people now are being able to identify as whatever they want. I'm a woman, but if I can identify as a man if I want, that's what's happening right now. So I figure I can identify as 44 forever. It doesn't matter what my real age is, it's what I identify as. And I think I'm sticking with 44. I thought about going to 40, but that just seems too like I'm over 40. But I don't want to be too much over 40. So I think I'm going to stick with 44. I also think it's a good age where people might be still like, oh, you look a little younger than your age. Can't go down to 36. I mean, maybe. It's a lot. Anyway, I don't know what I'm talking about. It's too much. Too much information. Um, anyway, I had an experience this week. So there's a guy that I've seen on my street several times, maybe like 5 or 6, not a ton, but I've seen him. And I'm like, oh, my God, it's really hot. And as I think I've said before, I try and flirt, but it's practically impossible, especially with a mask on. So I often go across the street to this bar outside. They have outside seating, and I go there. I usually go for like an hour. It's just a place I take my computer. That's pretty much the only time I've hung out in a bar is across the street when I take my computer to write, because it's easier for me to write outside. My house is too quiet. my house, my studio apartment. What am I talking about? A house. uh, so I went there on Thursday. Oh, happy Easter. It's Sunday. Who cares? I went there on Thursday and I walked in and there was only 2 other people at the outside seating. Excuse me. No, I don't burp on this podcast, but it just came out. But if you like burps, go to my YouTube page because me and Christine are killing it with the burps right now. We've been getting together during the week via Zoom. We got together Friday night and we were like, let's just do a fun little bonus episode because we're on Patreon now. So for our podcast, Chillin' Off, we'll do extra bonus episodes. And I always think it's going to be like 30 minutes. And we were on Zoom for 2 hours. So it's been fun. But anyway, doing a lot of burps. Back to the point. I went to the bar to write on Thursday. And I walked in, there was only 2 other people sitting outside. And one of them was the guy that I've seen on the street that I just thought was hot. And I was like, oh, it was like one of those things where it's like, thank God for a mask because my jaw just like dropped. But I just looked at him and then he looked right back at me and I was just like, oh shit, this is so good. And then I sat down and I started writing and then we just made eye contact. I had the feeling where I just knew, I was like, oh, this is it. You just feel the energy is happening. It was very exciting because I felt like I was getting back the same energy that I was putting out, which doesn't happen a lot. You know, sometimes you just stare at somebody that you think is cute and you get nothing back, or it's just, I don't know. It was just one of those moments where you're just like, it just felt good. It might have also just been that it's been so long that I've been in the presence of somebody I'm attracted to. So I sat and I wrote, and then like eventually something happened with the lights where he made a comment and then I made a comment and then we started talking, but he was like 2 tables away. So then I got up and moved to another table just to be closer. I didn't care. I was like, fuck it. I mean, especially after the pandemic, I'm usually very shy, but I also might have just had the right amount of 2 beers to have some confidence. But I said, I mean, if this isn't the perfect moment, I don't know what is. So I eventually started talking to him and I eventually sat at his table and it was just great. It was so much fun. Just like when you just like instantly have a rapport with somebody and you're just laughing and there's no like downtime in the conversation. That's one of the reasons I've never gone on dates is I just feel like it feels like an interview to me where you're trying to think of the next question to ask or the right way to answer a question. But that was never happening. It was just like going back and forth, like boom, boom, like good, fun, laughter. Um, I also want to preface this by saying because I usually only go to the bar for 1 hour and write, uh, I hadn't eaten because I usually go there around 5:30 p.m. and then I'll like eat something when I get home. So I was on an empty stomach. So I had 1 beer by myself writing, and then when I sat with him, I had 3 more. They were strong. They were strong beers. Elysian Space Dust, which I highly recommend. It's a very good beer. But by the end, I was a little drunk. So we left. I gave him my number. I'm like, come over. 'Cause, you know, I'm on a mission. I'm on a mission to hook up. I also, after I gave him my number, we both parted. He also lives on my street, which is, you know, I always say don't fuck anyone that lives in your building. You also shouldn't have sex with anyone that lives on your street, probably, because I spend a lot of time on the street because I babysit, in case you didn't know. That doesn't matter. I'm on the street a lot. I babysit a 2-year-old. We're basically out playing on the street all day. So anyway, all I'm saying is my theory is pretty much don't hook up with anyone who you may run into on a regular basis. Same as like a work situation in an office. Because if shit gets weird, you're stuck in the weirdness. But anyway, so I gave him my number. I invited him over. He said he was going to go home for a minute and brush his teeth, as any gentleman should. And then he texted me, "What are you doing?" I said, come over. And then I decided in my drunken brain to write nothing too aggressive, though, like not. I think I gave off the impression of, like, as a woman, I guess, even though I was looking to hook up, but as a woman, I guess there's just all this fear of like looking like a slut or something. And I feel like I haven't used the word slut in so long. So I gave off that impression, and he still came over. And then, of course, I freaking attacked him. And, he was like, "No, you said no, so I'm not going to do it." Anyway, I was drunk, and drunk Jen does not like being rejected. I think if I was completely sober, I would have thought the fact that he was saying, "No, let's not have sex," I would have thought, "Oh, that's so sweet. What a gentleman." Like, and instead, I don't know what I did. I guess I got pissed. But anyway, he left. But I texted him the next morning and I was like, I'm sorry for what happened. Or it's not like I felt like I did anything bad, but obviously I did something that made him feel that he should leave my apartment. But we texted the next day and everything was cool. He was nice about it. But I just spent like 48 hours just with like just complete like self-hatred and like regret. And I mean, I try not to hate myself when I don't do things on purpose. Like, I purposely would not drink 4 beers on an empty stomach, but I was having so much fun. The situation was so great. It was so exciting to have somebody you're attracted to give you back the same feeling. But I did. I drank on an empty stomach. Then I fucked it. I guess I fucked it. I don't know. I'm not going to take all the blame. I don't know this guy. He might have his own issues. I have no idea. But I just hate that, like, self-hatred of like just things being so perfect for like 2 hours and then it gets fucked up and there's like nothing you can do about it. I try and like trust in the universe, like, because I don't think I'm going to see him again. I haven't heard from him, even though he was cool the next day. But I try and like trust, like, okay, well, it's just not meant to be. And then it's so tricky. It's so hard to differentiate when your brain is when like you have such an amazing time or amazing connection with somebody, and you're like, well, of course that happened for a reason, didn't it? But maybe it only happened so that I could just have that 2 hours of fun at the bar. Maybe it doesn't mean that anything is supposed to happen in the future, but it's hard not to be like, but how would something not be able to happen in the future when it was so good. I feel like this, oh, fuck, I don't know. Story of my life, maybe. And then I just question, I don't know. I don't know. I have this problem where I delete people out of my phone really quickly. Christine always makes fun of me. But I already deleted it. I had to because I'll text again. I don't trust myself. So I had to delete it. So I wouldn't text. I'm not going to do it. It was just so exciting. It's not that often that you meet people and you. But there was also something that happened when we were having drinks together where he kind of like called me crazy like 2 times, which I kind of just let it go, even though in my brain I was like, I don't know. I've been called crazy so many times. I've become very, very self-conscious about it because he was very genuine. He was noticing. He was like, I can tell by your eyes, which is not the first time that somebody said that to me, whether it's just like, I can see in your eyes, you're a little. And when he said it, it was kind of a turn on because I like that with somebody's like so perceptive. But at the same time, it's like you can see that I'm crazy, like just by looking in my eyes. Oh shit. I wasn't thinking I was gonna cry. um Fuck. I just don't think I'm that crazy. I mean, I know I am. I know what happens inside my brain, but I don't think I'm somebody that like I don't know. I've seen people. I was gonna say girls, but I don't want to just say girls. I've seen people like just do like crazy shit. And I'm like, I don't do that stuff. Oh fuck. I don't know what's happening to me right now. So I don't know. Like I said, it's a turn. I feel like it's a turn on when somebody's. Not that many people notice or can see. I mean, I guess I thought he was right. That's why. But I'm like, if people can just look at me and see that I'm a little crazy. Like what? When he said it, it was almost like we were having so much fun and he said it in a funny way. So I laughed. But also in my head, I was like, well, I don't stand a chance then, I guess. If you think someone's crazy when you meet them, you're not really gonna like, that's it. Unless you're into crazy. um, but yeah, I don't know. It's just really hard for somebody to look right at you and then say they can see in your eyes that you're struggling mentally. I don't know if I'm struggling mentally. I've been feeling really good actually, which is why I'm surprised that I just started crying. I'm sure it has to do with age also. I know I've mentioned on this podcast before that, like, if you're in your 20s and people are like, you're a little crazy, well, then you're just a young girl who, hasn't really figured out a lot about life. But I think if you're in your 40s and you're single and you're perceived as crazy, then I don't know. Where are you going to go from there? I guess maybe if you meet the right person, they don't think you're crazy. I think I'm just really excited. And it comes across. I mean, like I said, I don't date, I don't go on Tinder or any dating apps. So I should meet more people so that I don't get so excited about one person, I guess. Because I got so excited that I probably did look like a crazy, you know what I mean? If you're just like, it's like when your adrenaline is going and I also have this tendency to get really stupid when I'm really attracted to somebody. Like my brain just like shuts off on normal. Normal, I don't even know what I'm trying to say. I just remember there was one time, like this was a long time ago. It was probably like 15 or at least 15 years ago. This guy asked me for my number, who I was really attracted to, and I couldn't remember my own phone number. Like that's what my brain does. It shuts off so much. I don't know if I just go into like hyper like self-conscious mode. So I'm so like my whole brain is just worrying, being self-conscious and can't remember any other information. But yeah, anyway, I don't know where I was just going with that. The only other time somebody's really like looked into my eyes and said they saw I was crazy was actually really funny. And again, I was turned on by that one too. This guy was just like, "Were you born crazy or did something happen to you?" And I was just like, "What?" He's like, I can see your brain." And then he made this sound of just like zzz, 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 like bolts. He's like, "I see your brain. I see the wires in your brain like firing off." Again, that turned me on too. Anyway, we'll see what happens. He's gone. He did leave a knife in my bed though. He was laying on top of my bed. Like I said, nothing happened. Um, but it is interesting to wake up and find a knife. You know, one of those knives that close. I don't know what they're called. And then, of course, I opened it and couldn't reclose it because those things are fucking so difficult to close back up. And I was afraid I was going to chop off my finger. So now I just have an open knife on my bedstand. Sounds weird to say I was going to hook up with a guy that carries a knife, but pretty sure it's just for protection. And the knife thing kind of like made me a little bit sad too. I'm sorry, I have to blow my nose or else I'm going to keep sniffling. Oh, sorry, I should have done that off mic. Gross. He's African American. And then I was thinking the next day of like not really knowing what it would feel like to feel like you always needed to protect yourself. Because I, don't- I don't know him that well. Uh, he seems very well put together. It seemed like the weapon was probably just for self protection. I'm sure. I assume something may have happened in the past or something. Um, we're also living in LA, so I don't even think you maybe even need a reason to carry a weapon these days in LA. It's fucking crazy. There's crazy people on the street every day. But I also just started thinking about, I mean, as a woman, I guess I would have some sense of always feeling like you need protection because I'm constantly thinking if I walk in the dark, we're always thinking like, you could get raped. Women spend a lot of time worrying about getting raped. I'm going to let you know. I'm sure that's not new news to anybody. At least I do. I'll only speak for myself. It's a big fear. Maybe it's because we're coming off of a summer of Black Lives Matter, but I just wondered what that would like to feel like that, you know, that nervous that you need to carry a knife in your pocket. Also, he has not contacted me to get said knife back. So it looks like I now have a knife, which makes me feel much better having a knife, a knife by my nightstand. I fucked that up. A knife by my nightstand. I got a knife now. If I could just learn how to close it, I could carry it in my pocket too. And then I would be safe walking the streets of Studio City. Why is it so hard to close those fucking knives? I can't figure it out. I should have brought it so I can show you. Well, you might be listening anyway. But yeah. Christina also brought up a good point when I told her that he denied me for sexual activity. And she was like, well, this guy's fucking smart. Which also made me wonder if that was something that's part of being African American. Not that a white guy wouldn't do the same thing. But she was like, of course he's not going to. Well, she didn't say, of course he didn't. She said he's really smart because if he knew that you were drunk and then, he had sex with you and then the next morning you were like, I was intoxicated. Like, I shouldn't even say it's because he's African American. Maybe just males. Maybe just being a man these days. If a woman says you, took advantage of her or raped her or did something against her, it's pretty hard to prove yourself wrong as a man. So I guess it probably isn't even like a racial thing. But my head was like, oh my God, are all black men scared of white women? I said black men. I'm tired of saying African American. I'm tired of being politically correct. He's black. Beautiful. Beautiful black man. So yeah. And then when Christina said he was really smart, then I just got turned on again. I was like, he is really smart. I want a smart, beautiful man. I don't even want a relationship. This is why I confuse people. It's like if the tables were turned, the way that I treated him was And he's not the first one. I've done this before. If the tables were turned and some guy was like, come over and then just immediately wanted to have sex with me, I might be, I don't know. I've lost myself now. I'm not sure. I felt like maybe I treated him like he was just a dick that I would want inside of me. Even though I had such a great time, we had a good time together, but my actions may have been like, I've probably been judgmental of guys in the past for treating women that way, and I probably have done the same thing. So I'm a dick, is what I want to say. I'm an asshole. I'm just going to keep trusting that maybe the fact that he doesn't want his knife back is saving me from something bad. Maybe he's not good. Maybe he's not good for me. So I'll just have to trust. It's all we can do, right? Otherwise, I'm going to drive myself insane. I also was thinking, shit. I'm not sure what I want to talk about next. I apologize. I had this moment when I was driving home. I was at my mom's house for Easter. And I was driving home and I was thinking about my neighbors because I live in an apartment complex. And COVID sort of feels like it's coming to an end. I hope I'm correct. I hope it doesn't get another freaking wave of something weird. But I was thinking about some neighbors where I'm like, I love my neighbor. Like, I think I have fallen in love. Not sexually, but just like love. Like right now, it's still fresh. We're still coming out of COVID. But I feel like in the future, like I've seen these people almost every day during COVID just because we're all home and passing each other. And some of us have hung out a lot. But I feel like in the future, it's going to be that thing where you're like, oh, it's like a bond you create with somebody, even if you might never see them again. Like if I moved out of the apartment and never saw them again, but you'd still be like, we were in the pandemic together. Like something you'll take for like a lifetime. I'm like, we did this, we went through this, like we're connected forever. We have a bond for the rest of our life from going through this pandemic together. And for some reason it made me like cry. I guess I'm just teary today. I don't know what the fuck is going on. I'm not PMSing. Jesus is risen. Maybe that has something. Oh, no, just kidding. I don't follow that shit. I hope my dad doesn't watch this podcast. My dad really loves Jesus. Good. And I think it's awesome. I'm really afraid to die. He's not, because he's going to meet Jesus when he dies. I'm terrified. I feel like I'm just going to end up in a pile of dirt. So anyway, that's my story. So exciting, eh? Oh, now I sound like Christina. Sorry, Christina. I took your A. Christina watches the podcast. She's going to know that I said A. I've also formed an amazing bond with Christina. Oh my God. Talking on Zooms for 2 hours. It's the happiest times of my life. Pandemic has sucked, but there's been some amazing connections, some deep love between friends. I was talking last week about obsession. just overall obsession. I know a lot of times it has to deal with men, but it's like I said last week, sometimes it's anything I can't say. If I feel like I need to tell somebody something and I can't, it just keeps going in my head until I finally tell them. It could be like 3 hours, same conversation. Boom, boom. But I don't know, I think maybe if you have obsession, it's just like across the board. It doesn't just focus on like one aspect. I've always felt like it was just men that I kind of obsessed with, but I'm like, no, I obsess about like so much other stuff. Like I have like a weird obsession with like food. I've always been on a diet my whole life. Well, not my whole life, not in high school. I ate a lot of Taco Bell in high school. I've been on a diet probably since I was 17. I exercise a lot. If there's a day I can't exercise, it literally like drives me crazy. And that's probably an obsession. That might be a problem. Like if I don't exercise, then I'm like, well, then I can't eat. I didn't exercise, so I can't eat. That's not good. And I also sometimes if people be like let's say, oh, let's go out to dinner next Saturday. As soon as they say it, I'm already gonna obsess that whole week about what I'm gonna eat on Saturday. This might be called an eating disorder. I'm gonna stick with obsession. But it's a horrible thing. It's an awful, because I think it's very common. I don't know, women worrying about their weight is nothing new. But I think the perception is probably that like, oh, you're on a diet, you don't want to eat much because you want to look good. I don't think anybody knows what happens when when you're like, no, I'm just gonna go, let me just go eat like a normal person, and your brain is like, no, no, you can't do that. You cannot. Like I've had times where I'm like, I literally put food in my mouth and my brain is like, you cannot take that. And then I take it out and spit it in the trash. This doesn't happen often. Don't worry. I'm okay. I wonder why that guy said I was crazy. I don't know why I'm putting all this shit out on YouTube, but whatever. I'll die one day and who gives a fuck. I guess my point is, I guess people assume you're in control of what you're doing. And a lot of times it's like, I don't feel like I have control of what I'm doing. Because even if I want to do something, I'm like, but you're going to hate yourself after. And I don't even know. I'm not trying to be skinny for men because I don't think they care that much if I was 5 or 10 pounds heavier. It's just my own feeling in my body, how I feel. It just all goes back to like self hate. This is getting depressing again. I told myself I was going to do a happier podcast today. That was my goal. Well, set that goal. Turns out it's the first time I cried on a podcast. I guess I should be careful of what goals I set. I was like, you should be happier and more upbeat. Then it just all went down. No, it's fine. So yeah. The one good thing, I think, I feel like I've grown a little bit. because I have noticed recently, like I did it with this guy and I've done it with a few other people in my life, where when something happens that I feel like I'm being rejected, or I feel like, however they're treating me is not how I feel I should be treated, or, not what I want. Instead of getting mad, I just think, I don't know what they're going through. I don't know what this person's going through. Like I had somebody I used to sleep with that I would get mad at. And then I just realized recently, like, well, what if he has the same, like I would take things so personally. And if I didn't get a text that I liked, and I don't know, it felt like he was standoffish or whatever. Then recently, I just suddenly thought, like, what if he has the same crazy thoughts that I have? Like I'm being so judgmental and just being weird and like, and then it just made me suddenly have like more compassion where I'm just like, I don't know. What if his brain drives him insane the same way mine does to me? I always tend to think that everybody else is just doing great and I'm the only one losing my fucking mind. I can never tell if I'm really selfish or not. I have no idea. Feels like it sometimes. But if you're all alone, who else are you going to think about but yourself? It's the Jen Murphy Show. I hate myself, and yet I think I'm so great that I should have my own show. Welcome to the life of a comedian. No, that's just people. I'm sure a lot of other people are like that. Doesn't have to be just a comedian. All right. I guess this is probably a short podcast because I've pretty much said what I wanted to say. I don't know how long it's been. I really appreciate all of you that listen. And thank you to you people that have also sent me some messages. You're very sweet. You should check out my YouTube, Jen Murphy, or listen to Jill and Off with me and Christina Walkinshaw, my BFF. And yeah, if you want to support us on Patreon, it's the Jill and Off podcast on Patreon. We share the money. So if you enjoy this show or our podcast or both or some burps, all right. I love you. Thank you for listening.